Hello everyone and welcome to the online version of the Nature's Chemistry unit of Higher Chemistry. Nature's Chemistry used to be Unit 2 of the higher course, but I felt that the course would flow better if we do this at the end. I'm really looking forward to teaching this unit. I'm a little bit gutted that we can't be in class to do it, but hopefully we'll be back before we get to do some of the really fun aspects of this unit. So I'm going to begin with a little overview of this first week's worth of lessons and an introduction to the course. Okay, so this week's work in chemistry is mainly going to focus on revision of National 5 material. However, I do realise that it's been really quite a while since you've done these topics at National 5 and you didn't get the benefit of consolidating this for the National 5 exam, so I'm going to try and give you as much help as possible. On this slide I've highlighted the aspects of the booklet that we're going to focus on this week. So it's going to be alkanes, alkenes and alcohols. I'm going to begin with a little introduction to the unit as a whole. So this unit is called Nature's Chemistry, but really it's going to focus on carbon chemistry. Carbon compounds are the basis of all earthly life, and a knowledge of them is essential for anyone who wishes to understand the chemistry of living things. So whether you're interested in plants, whether you're interested in animals, so we've got a little image of a neuron here, any living things, their chemistry is based on carbon chemistry. Carbon compounds are also found in many consumer products made by the chemical industry, from petrol to plastics to paracetamol. So we've got the structure of paracetamol in the bottom corner there, some other examples of pharmaceutical products, and then we've got a little picture showing some polymer chains on the bottom right. So the study of covalent carbon compounds is known as organic chemistry, and it overlaps with several other fields of study such as biochemistry. So if you're interested in biology, then I'm afraid you're going to have to get to understand a little bit of organic chemistry, carbon chemistry. I've called this unit and this topic an introduction to organic chemistry. I'm just using the words that we would actually use as chemists. At higher they do call it nature's chemistry, but really if you go into university and beyond, in the outside world they call this organic chemistry. So part of the reason why carbon is involved in all of these different products, from living things to plastics to paracetamol, is that carbon is able to form 4 bonds, and in chemistry this makes it an unusually versatile element. Carbon atoms can bond to other carbon atoms, meaning that they can form chains, and they can also bond to atoms of other elements in almost limitless combinations involving single, double and triple bonds. So carbon, like I say, is just so versatile, and that's why we can have the millions and billions and trillions of different possible molecules that make up living things. There's so many different molecular structures just within a tiny part of our body, and it's really important to understand that carbon is the key to allowing all of this to happen. So question 1 says drawing diagrams showing all outer electrons of methane and formaldehyde. Just a wee pointer, this is not essential knowledge for higher, but I just thought it would be worthwhile just illustrating how carbon actually forms these bonds and just reminding you a little bit about this. Okay, so drawing a diagram showing the outer electrons in methane, CH4. Well, carbon can form 4 bonds, and carbon has 4 outer electrons, and you might remember from 3rd year and maybe even National 5 that the outer electrons in elements are arranged into different regions of space known as orbitals, and you'll look at this in more detail again at advanced higher. So the second energy level has 4 orbitals, and when electrons fill these orbitals they fill them singly before pairing up. So carbon's 4 electrons are going to each fill these 4 orbitals singly. When atoms of nonmetals form covalent bonds, it's the unpaired electrons that can pair up to form the bonds, which is why carbon can form 4 bonds. Each hydrogen atom has 1 electron to share, and a hydrogen atom has that electron in its first energy level. There's only 1 orbital in the first energy level, so we represent hydrogen just as a circle. And methane is CH4. Each hydrogen can form 1 bond, meaning that we need 4 hydrogen atoms if we want to form a compound containing carbon and hydrogen with the formula CH4. So we've got 4 hydrogen atoms, and these dots represent the electron, the single electron from each hydrogen atom, which is going to pair up with an unpaired electron in the outer shell of the energy of the carbon atom. There we go. A slightly simpler version, which you'll probably see more online, is that we don't draw the orbitals for carbon, we just draw a circle and we draw the 4 outer electrons at being at the furthest away points of that circle. And then we could draw the hydrogens on like this. So again, this is just a different way of showing how the electrons are shared in a molecule of methane CH4. Okay, this next one here is a little bit more complicated. I wouldn't expect you to be able to figure this out yourself. Again, it's just interesting to look at those. So I'm going to start again by remembering that the 4 outer electrons in carbon are shared into different regions of space known as orbitals. And there's 1 electron in each of these orbitals. Now, when carbon forms a double bond, what happens is 2 of these orbitals overlap with 2 of the orbitals in another element. So oxygen, if we remember, has 6 outer electrons, and oxygen, because these outer electrons are in the second energy level, it also then has 4 orbitals, 4 regions of space where these electrons can be. Now, they're not really different sizes. Just to make my diagram work, I'm having to draw them different sizes. So oxygen's 6 outer electrons, we would have 2 what we call lone pairs and 2 unpaired electrons, which then pair up with the electrons in another atom when oxygen forms a double bond or forms any kind of bond. It could form 2 single bonds. So this might be worth bearing in mind, although again it's not mandatory knowledge. But when an oxygen forms bonds, it also has what we call these lone pairs of electrons. Okay, and then we've got 2 hydrogen atoms again, which are just going to join on like this. So remember, this is what we would call the full structural formula for this compound formaldehyde. The double bond represents 2 shared pairs of electrons, and each of these single bonds represents 1 shared pair of electrons in that molecule. Because of the huge diversity of carbon compounds, as scientists, it's really important that we have a systematic way of representing, classifying and naming these compounds. This is essential to making sense of their diversity and understanding their chemical reactions, and that's really what our introduction is to in this topic. So we're going to look at representing them through structural formula, molecular formula and shortened structural formula, different ways of classifying compounds into different families and other ways as well, and also systematic naming. So the topic is an introduction to the chemistry of the following types of compounds: alkanes, alkenes and cycloalkanes, which is National 5 revision. Alcohols and carboxylic acids, again National 5 revision with a little bit extra, and then we're also going to look at aldehydes, ketones and esters, which is new to you at higher level. Once we get these basics, then in the next 2 topics in the Nature's Chemistry unit, we're going to explore how the chemistry of these different families of compounds relates to the chemistry of cooking and to cosmetic chemistry. Following on from the introduction, we're now going to look at the alkane family of hydrocarbons. First, I would like you to complete the first half of page 5 in your notes. The first half of page 5 is a summary, which I think you should be able to complete either from memory or from the BBC Bitesize website. Once you've completed the first half of page 5, come back to this video and we're going to do a little quick quiz to check your understanding of the alkane family. If you're watching this section, I'm hoping that you've completed the first half of page 5 of your notes and that you've refreshed your memory of the basics of the alkane family and its first 8 members. In this quiz, you just have to name the alkane that the question is referring to. So you can pause the video now and see if you can answer question 1 to 5 with the name of the correct alkane. And here are the answers to that quick quiz. I'll let you mark it yourselves. Thank you for listening to my introduction to the first topic in Nature's Chemistry. You can now complete page 6 to 9 of your notes. Watch my other help videos if you're unsure about how to do any aspects of those pages. On page 8, you're instructed to do some extra practice questions from the Blue Book. To speed this up, I've written on this slide some specific questions that I would like you to do. When you get to page 9, it's mostly reading some information. You're reading information about the properties of hydrocarbons and how they relate to intermolecular forces. This should be familiar to you from our work on intermolecular forces in Unit 1, but make sure you read this page carefully and ask me if you're unsure about anything. Thank you for listening.